Hello. Hi, 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 hi. Good evening. Can you guys come in front? We have a lot of places here. Like, come, 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 come. Can you guys come? Don't hide. We have a lot of swags today, so you need to focus. Ah, Balaji, come. Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. Good evening. Sorry. Good evening. Evening. Good. So come guys in front. There is three places here. We need to. Okay, so welcome to our. I don't know the number of the meetup, but it's okay. Welcome to the CNCF meetup. I guess it's number 5 this year, which is we do one every month, and we are in May, so it's number 5. So who is the first time to join to our meetup? Oh, that's a lot. Cool. Ah, you guys know what is CNCF? Who knows what is CNCF? That's not a lot. Cloud native. Okay, it's actually cloud native. Yay! That's correct. That's correct. Thank you. So we have a lot of things today. We have people come from Grafana from overseas to talk about Grafana. So, and we have many swags. So the more that you guys focus and you ask a question, you're gonna take swags. You see, we have a lot of swags here, which is awesome from Grafana team. Thank you so much. And yeah, so here's the rule of our house. So if you want to talk, if you miss your friend, we are all like we are missing our friends as well. But you can talk like in the corner outside or behind. Okay. We need the people to focus. The second part, if you guys want to eat, it's okay. We all hungry. We all want to eat, right? But after you finish, just put the garbage in the pan. Okay? All good? Cool. So you guys have clicker? Yeah, it's okay. We are about to finish. So okay, so the agenda is full. So we need also all of you to focus because we have a swags, as I did mention. And the swags will be any question that you ask, you're gonna take a swag. Whether it's bad question, is good question, you're gonna take one. Okay? So focus at the end of every talk you ask, you take something. Cool. So the first part is our James Ross, the CTO of SIG. We'll talk about SIG and what they are doing. And then we have a lot of talks. We'll take it step by step, but also we have introduced something new, which is Bass Corner. We'll talk about what happened in the open source in this month, the new update and so on. So also if you ask some question, you're gonna take swag. Yeah, so let's start first with our CTO. Please welcome to our SIG CTO.
Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for coming. Really appreciate you coming to see us here at Job Street. Hands up if you are familiar with Job Street, the website. Yeah? Yeah, everyone's heard of Job Street. Have you noticed in the last little while, the icon says Job Street by Seek? Have you noticed? Yeah. So I'm just going to be very brief tonight. I don't even have any slides. I have two very simple messages for you. I'll keep the second as a secret. But the first one is that things have really changed at Job Street. we've been through a transformation that you would not believe. And so I'm very excited. I just want to give you a taste of what it is. I know this is a technical audience, and I do mean it has technically completely changed. And I want to just give you a quick understanding of why we're so excited about that. So basically, JobStreet is the most successful employment marketplace, as you know, in Malaysia. It's also in Singapore, Philippines, and Indonesia. Now, while, do you know how old JobStreet is? It's like 26 and a half years old, right? Probably older than a lot of you. But in the first wave of the .com era in the 1990s, all of the classifieds were going online. And while JobStreet was becoming the biggest employment marketplace over here, Seek was doing that in Australia, and another business called JobsDB was doing that in Hong Kong, Thailand, and also was in several of the JobStreet markets there for a while. And Seek in the last 10 years has acquired both JobStreet and JobsDB. And they've been operating as separate businesses, right? So you can imagine that in Australia, in Seek, we had a development team and a bunch of SREs and DevOps people building the Seek website, and JobStreet had the same. So you had product management, engineers, commercial people, salespeople, just separate businesses, each building their own products. And what we wanted to do, and the journey we've been on, is basically to get to scale at the APAC region. So in Australia, like Malaysia, is quite a small country. We have only about 27, 28 million people. I think Malaysia has, what, 34, something like that. New Zealand is only, where we also operate, is only 5 or 6 million, right? So Australia plus New Zealand is about the size of Malaysia. But if you add in the Philippines and Thailand and Singapore and Indonesia, you get to nearly 500 million people. So what we wanted to achieve was to have all of our team working on one platform. So we've got about 400 software engineers, about 200 people in our data science team, for example. And we wanted all those people to write the code once and get it to the 500 million people. That was our dream. And 6 months ago, we finished that job. So literally on what was the date? It was about the 19th of November. If you went to JobStreet on the Friday of that weekend, you were using our old system for JobStreet. It was written in PHP. It was on racked and stacked servers in a data center. It was not what you'd call DevOps, no continuous delivery, no automated testing, not so much. And literally that's been replaced with our new APAC system that is fully, it's been cloud native for 10 years. It's fully continuous delivery, automated testing, all of the observability, Cloudflare out the front, Datadog out the back, containerization in the middle, all fully automated. And so literally on that Friday, you would have been using the old system, and that system has now been turned off. We didn't modernize that system, we replaced it. Over a 3-year period, we built the features into the APAC system to cover all our APAC markets. We set up data migration feeds so that for about a year, the way we did the data migration, if you want to talk to any of the technical people here, it was quite involved, but it worked really well. We basically set it up for about a year, whereby anything that happened in JobStreet or JobsDB was replicated back into the new APAC system. So we were able to collect all the data from Asia, talking about 100 million profiles of candidates, 500,000 hirers, that sort of scale, about a couple of billion records pulled across. And then on that weekend in November, we did Philippines in October, we did Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia in November. And over that weekend, we brought all the users across. So they were literally using a different system on the Monday. So now we've achieved that transformation where you're using a fully modern cloud stack, the kind of stack you want to work on. It's all AWS. And that's it. I wanted just to let you know that we're very excited that if you haven't looked at JobStreet for a while, take another look, because it's all AI-driven search now. You might have seen our marketing campaign. It was playing on the board out there. So the new message we're putting out since completing this transformation is it's better matches than ever before, powered by AI, which is true. We were very early into AI. We've been doing for about 7 or 8 years. Got one of the biggest AI data science teams in the region, several hundred people, and we're very excited about it. And so that leads me to my very quick second message, which is that we are hiring. So we are literally building, now that we've unified our systems, we are also, we've brought our teams together. So you might meet some of the people here in our KL-based team. I'm visiting from Melbourne this week, but we've got hundreds of people here. And we're now operating as one unified team as well. So we have people in Melbourne who have worked with people every day with teams in KL. We mix all the people up. We don't have some parts of the product built in KL, some in Melbourne. All the teams are distributed, and we have people in KL managing people in Melbourne, and people in Melbourne managing people in Hong Kong, and people in Hong Kong leading people in multiple countries. It's a real APAC team. But what we're trying to do over the next couple of years is get our KL team to the same size as our Melbourne team. So right now our Melbourne team is bigger, and so we are planning to do 80% of our hiring right here in KL. So we're very interested to meet anyone who wants to come and help us build this APAC scale employment marketplace. So that's it for me. Enjoy the talks. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to see AI everywhere now. So thank you. Okay, so that's true. Cool. So we're gonna start with our first topic, which sounds like a big topic. So you guys focus on that. We have some swags. So welcome to Lester, the head of engineering at Seek.
Thank you, Ahmed. Just trying to get the slides all ready. There's a lot of words there, but yes, there will be more words coming. Yeah, I think so. Share. Awesome. I think that's it. Get the clicker. All right, welcome everybody, and good evening. And my name is Lester, and I will be presenting to you tonight Paved Roads at Seek, and how we respond at scale in a cloud-native world. So let's get into it. So I'll just run you through the agenda. Firstly, introduction, which we've kind of gotten through, Paved Roads, what that means, Seek's cloud-native journey so far, what life before gantry, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. That's pretty much the core of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. And some of Seek's engineering principles as well. Next, we're going to talk about gantry, APIs at scale, and how we sort of problem solve at scale with quality and consistency. You're going to look at internals, the components, the adoptions, some stats, and some drawbacks as well, and what next. And then I'm going to pull a few shameless plugs, which you'll see, which is following what James is saying about recruitment. And then we'll kind of put to the floor for questions. I'll try my best to answer anything that I know about Seek until my boss tells me otherwise. So let's get started. Cool. So coming back to me again. So I'm Lester. I'm the head of engineering at Seek for two teams, two sort of subdomains, so SEA plus Discover. And I'm originally from Malaysia, but found a job in Melbourne at Seek, and thought that, wow, Seek's bought JobStreet and JobsDB. I should come back and see Malaysia as an expat. So here I am, living my dream. So okay, cool. So I've kind of like been at Seek a little over 10 years now. Started as an engineer, moved around the Seek's both sides of the marketplace. If you think about Seek, you've got hirers that post job ads, and you've got candidates that apply for jobs. And doing a short stint in platforms as well, which is Paved Roads. We called it Paved Roads back then. So it was called the Paved Roads team, not a very cool name today like platform engineering, which we'll get to a little bit. And then moved into management about 3 to 4 years ago. So next. So what is Paved Roads? It's a standardized set of tools, practices, and processes designed to streamline workflows, enhance collaboration, and improve overall outcomes. There's a lot of words, there's a lot of buzzwords in there, but I took that from somewhere. So in the context of 6 engineering teams, the common themes around this are CI/CD in terms of how we deploy, in compute in how we process information, design systems in how we have consistent experience across SEEK, networks, how our systems communicate, and observability, how we know how our products and systems are actually doing in the wild. These are just some themes, but there are more like that, but these are just some of the common ones that we'll talk about. That is part of Paved Roads. So next I'll talk about SEEK's cloud native journey, and I'll talk a little bit about pre-cloud. This is where it's probably more all monolithic, and like James said, this is even in ANZ before we talk about job street and all that kind of stuff. So it's data center based. The teams, it's when we deploy software, we call it bus deployments. There's a bus driver. So what happens is all teams merge their changes into one main branch, and then we deploy it, and then we pray and hope that it all works. And mostly we're wrong. If it works, it takes about 2 weeks to deploy the whole thing. If we're not, if we're wrong, which is pretty much most of the time, it gets blocked 6 to 8 weeks before we actually deploy anything. I think rumor has it I'm the second person here. Oops. That's praying. That was me, I think. Anywho, so that's pre-cloud day. So it wasn't very fun as an engineer. So you had to kind of stay back and kind of find out bugs, which were really difficult to find. There were some Heisen bugs as well, where we couldn't replicate things. I think Glenn, you remember that, don't you? Cool. And then moving on to the next part is where Amazon sort of came into the picture, and we went all the way from monolithic, everything monolithic, to allergic to anything monolithic. So we sort of went the other spectrum, and as a result, it's siloed DevOps. I copied this from James's earlier presentation. And basically what happens is every team kind of have their own set of infrastructure, their own tooling, which is what we're talking about today, and their own services. I coined this time the Amazon Wild Wild West service instead of AWS. So it was wild. The permutations of technology that we had was amazing. We had Golang, Haskell, Scala, we had .NET Core, we had .NET main framework, we had even in terms of infrastructure, we had EC2 bundled with CloudFormation, pulled together with PowerShell, and we had EB deployer from ThoughtWorks. We had API gateway running Lambda, like an API, for example. So all the permutations under the sun that you can think of in terms of technology in the cloud, non-cloud data center, we probably have them. So it was a great time of learning, but it was at a great cost as well. Next, we move on to what we call fragmented DevOps. It's a little bit better. You know, teams were still sort of running their own services, their own infrastructure, and this is where Paved Roads began. And then the first tool that they sort of created was Gantry, and I'll run through Gantry a little bit more. And that's when we started beginning paving roads as well. Cool. Engineering platforms is where we are today. It's still growing, and I'll plug a little bit about the roles that we have open in that space. It is the ideal that we want to be striving for. We're not there yet, but we want you folks, anyone that's interested in joining us, to help us build that. And it effectively isn't, it's platforms that you could self-service yourself as an engineer. So you would have autonomy as an engineer. Don't think of it as platforms as, you know, they're the ones that are providing service. It's more self-service as a model. So it's a little bit beyond the scope of the talk today, because we'll be talking about that part. Cool, awesome. Great, now you have the journey, so I'll tell you about life before Gantry. And I'll apologize, there's a few memes and funny pictures that I'll be putting on the right side just to illustrate a little bit of that. So why was this a problem? I kind of discussed a little bit through that. So, but one, consistency, combinations of serverless EC2s orchestrated multiple different deployment patterns across teams. So you move teams and you'd probably have to learn a whole new stack, a whole new infrastructure altogether. So that was very costly from that point of view. And not just that, it was very difficult to exchange ideas because it was very difficult for engineers to move around. Observability. So it was really difficult to understand what our systems are doing holistically in the wild. So it kind of depends on how good the team were at sort of orchestrating these metrics and the observabilities within those systems. Cost. Engineers were spending a lot of time setting up infrastructure that were basically doing the same thing, but different. Even with similar tools, teams were doing things slightly differently. So it wasn't. It was a great place for you to learn any technology under the sun, but probably not a great place to kind of deliver value to the customer. Cool, awesome. So Gantry enters Gantry? What is it? What is it? It's APIs at scale. There's a and the reason why we call Gantry is because it takes on containers, just like how that sort of Harlan and Wolf Gantry is doing. It's a tool for managing containerized workloads on AWS. It provides a secure, reliable, well-monitored and consistent way in which we can kind of provision APIs in accordance with Seek's RFC. So Seek, we have these technical compliance documents that teams should adhere to. With Gantry, it's easy for us to basically help teams to be able to do that. And what it actually is a Golang binary that's exposed via CLI. And we also have a build kite plugin, and that's our CI/CD tool that we use at Seek. And under the hood, it utilizes AWS CLI and CloudFormation to sort of orchestrate the deployments. And I'll show you the guts of that as well. Cool. Everyone's still here. Right, so how does it work in terms of Gantry? So it's infrastructure as code. Effectively, what you need to do to kind of provision Gantry is effectively that YAML that you see there, and it's declarative. Much like, I don't know whether or not you folks know about EB deployer from ThoughtWorks. Does anyone know about that? So it's effective. Oh yeah, thanks, Gil. So it's effectively kind of it basically you kind of define what you want as an infrastructure. And then Gantry goes and sorts it out for you. And you can see that it sort of exposes native AWS features, like things like that, like permissions for resources, for example. And it also augments the APIs with Seekisms. So we have requirements for tagging, we have requirements for logging, we have requirements for metrics, RFCs, and etc. So it's effectively, so if you look at Gantry, that's probably it. Every time any engineer looks at Gantry, that's what they see. And then what they provision out looks kind of like that. So what's inside the Gantry API? So it's an amalgamation of a lot of different AWS technologies or services that we use. And it's all sort of glued together with that Gantry binary with that YAML that you saw, that config that you saw. There's going to be a few words in here. So Elastic Container Service, so that's what we use. That's Gantry ECS. So we use Fargate. And then in terms of how we kind of reason about traffic going into Gantry services is, in fact, we use an ALB, Application Load Balancer. It also sort of augments a lot of things around monitoring with CloudWatch, scaling, alarms, and all that kind of stuff. So it's so what you get when you provision an API with Gantry, you effectively get these alarms and these sort of scaling policies for free, and you can kind of alter them as it sees fit in terms of what your team needs. And in terms of deployment, it uses blue-green deployment via code deploy, and also a bit of basic rudimentary canary deployments as well. So it uses DNS-based route switching with the ALB. And all this happens via code deploy as well, which I don't think it's here. Cool, awesome. Next, a little bit of usage and adoption and what it looks like today. We have about 220 plus Gantry APIs in production, over 700 APIs in dev. that covers about 90 to 90. I think that probably covers about 99% of all our APIs at Seek. That 1% is just for error margins of error, probably. It's probably 100%. And we've got about 400 engineers at Seek that's using Gantry to provision APIs. We've actually only got about 270, is that right, in online engineering? So it's actually gone beyond online engineering, and other parts of the business are actually using it too. So the success is actually quite palpable for this one. The one that sort of amazes me the most is that stat there. It's not a stat. It's like hours to provision an API instead of days and weeks. That's a massive difference. If you times that by the amount of APIs, obviously we don't create APIs every day, but it does happen. That's a lot of time saved. Cool, awesome. This is a glimpse. This is a very early glimpse of what we would have been able to sort of observe with teams going on to Gantry, is that we would be able to look at it holistically from a Seek point of view. It was easy to orchestrate once everyone was on it. So as you can see, I don't know when this stat is and what the time frames are, but just to give you a bit of a view of in terms of what we can collect. If you have a singular tool that sort of brings everyone together and everyone uses that tool. Cool. Next bit, gonna talk a little bit of drawbacks, right? So it's not perfect. It's not all roses and rainbows, and it kind of gives us sort of more room for improvement if we have problems. So issues with Gantry, because we use Fargate, and it abstracts away the hardware level abstraction. So we don't have any control over very important things like network throughput and even costs. So Fargate is quite expensive from relatively expensive from a compute perspective. ALB, application load balancer, DNS-based target switching. There's a big words there. It's not easily scalable. So what we see in terms of teams at Seek is that if you have a ECS cluster, 6 Gantry APIs, it starts to choke. Not in terms of the APIs itself, but in terms of deployments. So deployments would have to wait. So if you have multiple APIs that needs to deploy all at once, they will need to be sequenced. And blue-green deployments can be dangerous, especially at our scale. So you've got like 40 Fargate tasks, for example, in production. And then you've got 40 Fargate tasks that's about to be blue-greened. And then if it goes wrong, it goes wrong completely. And we try to use canary deployments, but it's quite basic in terms of what you can control and what you can roll back on. So these are some of the major drawbacks of Gantry itself. So what next? I'm actually not qualified to talk about what next, but I do know a little bit about that. In that, we're moving towards this new product called Automat. It's an internal product. It's an internal branded product, just like Gantry, and it's based on Kubernetes. It's a step up change in terms of how we can reason about observability as well, tooling, scalability, especially the cost. We can now start to think about things like EC2 fleets to be able to manage and control cost. That's just a few of the good stuff that I'm very excited to see. It's still very early stages in rollout. So again, shameless plug. If you were to join us, you'd be on the ground floor on this one, and you'd be able to help us with a lot of the tooling that our engineers would be using. Cool. Right. Are we looking for time? Okay, good. So I'll talk a little bit about the origins. Like Gantry itself was a passion project. It turned from a passion project to something that basically generated outcomes for the business. And at Seek, we're very fortunate for the fact that we have a lot of passionate engineers that wants to solve a lot of problems and a lot of engineers' pains as well. And plus that we have very supportive leadership that would allow us and would invest in things like hackathons. In fact, Gantry was a hackathon project. And it it sort of became like a winner, and then had sort of 2 to 3 weeks to prove itself out, and it won. So be passionate. That's what I would encourage you as engineers to do. Think about problems, think about solving problems at scale. Collaborate more with your fellow engineers to understand what the pain points are, and hopefully you'll have as supportive a leadership as we have to be able to invest in things like hackathons or even passion projects that people do feel like doing. Cool. Shameless plug coming in. We have open roles at the moment. I think these are the only ones that I'm actually allowed to talk about, but there's more. So please come and do come and talk to us about this. I've had many engineering managers sort of come to me and say, hey, can you plug it for me? Yep, get on the list. So we are looking for people and passionate engineers. So please do talk to us about this. Cool. Any questions? Yep, that's one. You get free swag. After the question, yes, you have to ask the question first, I think. And that's the 1, 3. Okay.
Okay. So if you were to rewrite gantry today with a fresh start, what base would you start with? AWS CDK or some other open source? What are your thoughts?
That's a good question, actually. So the Gantry was created when I guess any technology under the sun was actually applicable. Golang is a relatively reasonable language to use on the CLI. But for reasons of mobility, at Seek, we've decided to go with TypeScript in production code. So I think to answer your question, maybe reasoning about Gantry as a TypeScript tool, perhaps not the right thing to do, but CDK would be another one as well. AWS CLI, we sort of created Gantry before CDK came along the lines. So yeah, so I think those are reasonable constructs to be using. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, cool.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the sharing. So you just said that Gantry was created upon a hackathon. Earlier was K8S. I just would like to understand what's the motives of Seek or you as passionate engineers to build your own tools rather than to go to off the shelf.
So it's kind of, so I'll answer. That's actually a very interesting question. So we don't really sort of build it in-house. We kind of augment what the vendors would provide. So kind of we are getting stuff out of the box from AWS, for example, but then we streamline the process in which we kind of provision those services, if you will. So in a way, we're not really reinventing anything. We're just basically making it easier for us to use the services that our vendors would provide, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. I mean, my question is motivated with other things we're personally working on, but IIC, for instance, that concept you showed us, the YML, and yeah, I mean that answers what
Okay.
we are also seeing, that you take what's best and you make it fit to your needs.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in that case, yes, absolutely.
Can I
Thank
give the gift to my friend?
Sure.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Okay, sorry. If I may ask, do you guys hire interns right now?
Interns, do we? Not at the moment. It's not yet. But do keep in touch though. Grads, we do. Yeah, we have a grad program here in KL. When does it start? Yeah, so there's a grad program next year if anyone's interested. Sorry, next. I've got 4 more questions because I've only got 4 more swag to give away.
Yeah, I have a question here. So, what are the approach or strategy that y'all use when you come up with entry, right? This tool, so that developers in the team or in the company will abide with the standard rules and change the way they used to. to follow the new standard. Yeah. So what are the approach?
Good question. The Paved Road team approached gantry like a product. So we went through there was a few strategies that we used. We went to sort of individual teams to tell them about the actual gantry product itself. How it kind of manifested itself was effectively in actual fact I was the first customer of gantry, right? I worked in the Paved Road team after they created gantry, just to make it clear. I was the first customer of gantry. It wasn't called gantry then. It was like an experimental version of it. We call it EBBV2. I don't know what that stands for. And I was running a team called payments at that point in time. And our APIs were provisioned using that. And we then showcased how easy it was to use. And then Paved Road team used us to present to the rest of the community in terms of this is what you should be doing. So there's a little bit of education. And then we followed that up with quite a bit of documentation. And then we also ran these things, when I was in Paved Road, we also ran these things called gantry classrooms. So any team that wanted to sort of use gantry would basically ask their engineers to come to to the classroom, and then we run them through how you would do like if you went to an AWS course, they would teach you how to provision things. We would do the same, but with gantry. Oh, cool. Yes. Swag coming. Yes. One more.
We received those three. 1, 2, 3.
Uh,
That's all. After this, the question will be three. You can
hi. So my question was like you mentioned like gantry was a hackathon winner, right? Winner product, and after that you mentioned like it didn't work, right? So what basically it makes that a hackathon winner product fails?
Sorry, come again. Last bit there. I didn't.
You mentioned that gantry product was a hackathon winner product, right? And then later you mentioned like it is a failure product. How it transformed from a winner to a failure? Can you explain a bit?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Can you?
You mentioned like gantry product was a hackathon winner, right?
Yeah.
And later you mentioned like there are a lot of problems you find out and it was a failure, right? It's no more using, right? No one is.
Oh no, gantry was a success. Like in terms of the gantry product itself was quite successful.
But I never heard of that product actually.
Oh no, this gantry is an internal SIG tool. Yeah, it's not a public tool that we publish or anything like that. It is.
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's
Yeah,
a
that's
good
right.
question.
It means like.
Yeah, that is a great question there. Yeah, and I think most of it is because gantry. We do have products that we do open source. So if you go to GitHub, seek-oss is basically where we have our public products. Gantry is not one of them. And the reason why we probably don't want to, that we never thought about actually making it public, was because we embed it with a lot of Sikhisms, right? Things that might not be relevant to you and in your company. Like we have rules around tagging, which are very specific to Sikh. So I guess for that reason, we sort of never really made it public, if you will.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Let's okay. This side of the room, please.
Yeah, so my first question actually answered just now because I was trying to search what actually is gantry. Sorry, I'm not familiar with.
Okay. I should have made that
cloud
clear. I
native.
should have made that
Yeah,
clear.
because I tried to search gantry SIG. It only shows me the job for being a train operators, gantry operators.
That means
That means it's working. Yes.
Yes,
it's working.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my second question is how different is, because I think you implement gantry in the first place to address a lot of the issue that you have internally. So how different it is compared to solution that is actually already offered? For example, like in GCP, they have these workflows where you can orchestrate a lot of different systems. Would that actually be something that you can also plug and use assuming that you can use Google Cloud that solve a lot of your problems. I mean, how much different it is compared to the off-the-shelf solution that is offered by Google compared to gantry that you have now?
Well, number one, we're not on Google Cloud. Our cloud.
And it could be something equivalent in AWS as well, but how different
Yeah.
it is now?
So we actually started with a tool like that. It's called EB Deploys from ThoughtWorks. So it provisions AWS Beanstalk. Yes, Elastic Beanstalk, sorry. In terms of like the APIs itself, but they were lacking things, right? So we learned from these sort of different sort of tools that we use. We use serverless too, serverless.com. So we use it up to now. Now I think they're charging us for money, so we're not going to be using them. So we'll be using AWS CDK. But yeah, so we do learn from all these different off-the-shelf tools. We pick out what is the best that we feel is best for us at Seek, and then we take that and then we I guess create gantry out of that.
Okay, so you're actually the gantry also still using a lot of AWS service, for example.
It uses all AWS services.
Okay.
It's just a shell that helps you provision and sequence those AWS services. So you know, like how this CloudFormation does a lot of the work, but there's some sequencing things that you'll need to do with code deploy. For example, we use ECR, Elastic Container Registry, to put containers in and then to pull containers out. So there's a sequence to it. Gantry is the tool that basically amalgamates all those processes together.
Okay. So it's actually very customized solution gantry, which is only for Seek, which is currently only used by Seek.
It's customized for Seek, but it's quite generic in that it uses very generic AWS services. So you could today, if we gave you the source code, kind of alter it for your needs, and it wouldn't be very proprietary, if you know what I mean. It will be all AWS services behind the scenes.
So I think the other question is very reasonable, as in why you guys didn't publish this sort of solution as something that can accessible publicly.
That's a great question.
And
I'll bring that back to the platform teams and see whether we can open source this stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, sorry, yeah. Yeah, you can answer that. Oh, Faiz, by the way, is the engineering manager that looks after gantry at the moment. So
yeah, thank you. I think like what Lester is trying to say is there's a lot of coupling between how we do things, and Lester knows as well. It's not just the front end side of the gantry as well, but we're also talking about the infrastructure end as well. So like, for example, the graph that Lester shows as well. So those graphs are very coupling the way how we provision the AWS account in the first place. And we have a dedicated team called Cloud Foundation that basically provision the AWS account, how it looks like, what sort of tagging, what sort of roles even, to make sure that things are easy for our engineers. And at the same time, it provides that kind of isolation that teams need so that it doesn't really, you know, like cross that kind of boundary, I suppose. And it's very coupling to how we do things. So if we were to open source that, I think that takes a lot of effort, right? I think, Lester, right? And
well,
like, it probably doesn't make sense as well.
Well, there's an ROI to the branding side of things, but you know, like we can talk about that. There's also like what Faiz is probably saying is that like, you know, like we have opinions around what services in AWS that we want to use, and other companies might feel differently. We have a different cost profile, other or risk profile, whatever profile that you do. Like every company is slightly different. So what we might be able to kind of push this out to the outside world, but no one uses it because it's not suitable for what they need. So yeah, hopefully that answers a little bit more of those questions. No, any more questions? No more swag?
Yeah,
yes, there's one over here.
One here.
That's one. The passionate free questions are probably the ones that.
What?
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. So guys, in your presentation, you said that you evolved from solving engineering pains to investment in innovation. Can you please share what was like, how was the transition? What was the key factors for that? What was the key innovation factor that helped you transition from solving to investment in innovation?
Solving the right problems for the company is probably the right start. So I think, Yeah, so I think asking the right questions as engineers in terms of what you want to solve for the organization is probably a good start in a winning product that you as an engineer want to do yourself. So it's really around whether or not you're solving the right problems, right? And that means for Seek at least, that means understanding what teams are sort of facing and what the business wants the teams to be doing. I know that's a very vague answer.
Can you please share maybe some not under NDA examples? I don't know.
Like for example, like one of the things that we wanted to solve was the fact that every team was trying to provision APIs differently, and they were spending a lot of time. Like each even within the same team, if they wanted to provision the second API, they'd probably spend another 2 to 3 weeks just to provision the API itself. So if you think about that, right, like in a product engineering and product development type of world where you kind of deliver value, you're spending a lot of time on stuff that shouldn't really be you shouldn't really be spending time on. You should be only spending time on innovation, and that's what tools like this kind of help teams do. So like in one of the stats I kind of put as in like instead of weeks and days, we're talking about hours to provision an API. So think about the sort of the thought process around it. Basically, you don't need to worry about that stuff. You don't need to worry about logging. You don't need to worry about metrics. You don't need to worry about all these non-functional but functional requirements around provisioning infrastructure. And then you kind of focus directly on the stuff that you need to deliver on. So I think answering that hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, maybe one. Sorry for the second question.
Absolutely fine.
So how did you manage? Like, what was a key factor for you obtaining such wide area in your market? How did you done that?
As in like for gantry in terms of the adoption itself, or
like in a country, so like how did you manage to step on this place, on this high place in hierarchy in your country? What was a key like innovational step that helped you reach these heights?
Help us reach this height. I think supportive leadership is a very strong like we had all the way up to CEO very supporting things like hackathon and managers and like leaders that are very supportive of engineers that actually want to solve problems, give them autonomy to a point, as long as they ask the right questions and solve the right problems. There's obviously track record as an engineer. Obviously, you'll get better at doing things, and then you'll get more trust from the leadership, and leadership will apply more of that investment. So there's no like one silver bullet as to why what happens. It's really a combination of a few things. But generally, I'd say as engineers, if you want to solve big problems and you want support from the company, solve companies' problems.
Thank you. It was very insightful.
Cool. Thank you so much. We will take the last question.
Yeah, so we like at Seek, thank you for that question. At Seek, we collect a lot of data, and that's very dear to us, and the security of that data is very important to us. And the fact that we collect a lot of data from people, and we need to make sure that they trust us with their data. So a Seekism would be how we classify data that we store, and that comes in the form of tags. And then on top of that, there'll probably be some security mechanism that sort of looks at those tags and protects them, or at least classifies them and actually knows where they are. So that's one example of Seekisms. It will be on the infra layer. So like AWS resources will have tags, and then we will apply tags to them. Not all infra will be taggable or applicable to be tags. And so things like data stores would probably be the ones that you're talking about. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. It also like one of the things that we are very big on is security. So with a tool like Gantry, it's very easy for us to basically upgrade security, because all we have to do is upgrade it in the binary, or I guess, and then get the teams to sort of upgrade the versions of gantry. So right now we're in like what, version 3.5, is it? 3.2. It's gone through a few changes, and a lot of that has, and from version 3 to 3.2, we've probably helped teams get rid of any Sikhism work that they need to do in terms of like tagging and all that kind of stuff. So, like every time they upgrade, they kind of save time, which is the power of this whole platforms concept, if you will, tooling concept. I think that's it. I think that's all my time. Thank you all. Hope it was enjoyable for you. And now back to you, Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Lester. That was interesting. A lot of information, a lot of things. I personally have a question, but I will ask after finish. Just give me 1 second. We will try to do something. So we actually, in that time, in this meetup, we are introducing something very new to keep you guys updated with what happened or what is happening in open source. So who knows Kubernetes? Kubernetes. Cool. So Kubernetes actually is celebrating the 10th anniversary. 10th anniversary. So it's 10 years since Google invented that, and they gave it to cloud native for a community, for a open source to manage it. So yeah, the celebration will happen on 6th June. So if you guys want to go to America and enjoy this party, you can travel. Cool. So the second time is STO. Who knows STO? STO, not too much, but STO is a service mesh. It's actually they just released a new version, v1.22, which has a lot of updates. One of the biggest one is they have released the ambient as a replacement for the sidecar, which is a very good thing. We don't want sidecar anymore. A lot of things happening there. So this is the article. You can read it, you can test it, and give a feedback for the community. Cool. The third thing and the last one was so who knows OpenTofu? Three only. Oh my god. So this one has a replacement for Terraform. So if you're using Terraform, you actually knows that tool because it's already taken from Terraform after HashiCorp changed their license. And now it's version 1.7, a lot of update. It's actually this feature is the state encryption, state file encryption is actually not in Terraform, but they finish it in OpenTofu. I encourage you to use it. It's very cool. Who knows TerraGrant? TerraGrant? Two only? Okay, so TerraGrant also has this feature. They do encrypt the state file as well. Cool. And also you can integrate OpenTofu with TerraGrant as same as Terraform and TerraGrant, which is very cool. Yeah, that was the update from our open source stuff. And now we're gonna go to Javier. Javier. Correct. You want to connect? Yeah, there are a lot of tips on how to use. I'm gonna give a lot of tips. So also, if you guys ask question, you're gonna take a swags. So yeah, prepare your question. So, please welcome to Javier.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Cloud Native Foundation and SIG for hosting this event. And I am going to talk about how to advance your IT career. I have some questions first. Who is extremely well paid? Anyone? Okay, we have one person. I don't have anything to give you, but congratulations, you got it. Who wants to get a better paid and more responsibility? Only a better pay, right? Okay. It usually doesn't happen that way. And who is looking for a new job? Who wants to change companies? Okay, maybe you should take a look at SICK. They are doing great things. And many companies in Malaysia right now. It's a great time to be here. This is a picture of my office, my third office. I spend a lot of time in those chairs talking with my employees. Let's see. Okay, this is me. My name is Javier, as you know. I was an immigrant to Spain, and I didn't have any money and didn't have any contacts. And I built and I bootstrap my own company. We manage 10 billion ringgit in energy for energy producers, renewable energy producers in Europe, America, and Africa. And one day my company was acquired. That was 16 years after I created the company. And on that time, I spent a lot of time interviewing engineers and hiring. Probably I hired around 200 engineers. And I'm going to share with you what I believe are the key elements for engineers to have a successful IT career. There are many options to have a successful IT career. Successful has a different meaning for each of us. Money may not be relevant for many, or it may be relevant for others. Responsibility, many things. But something that I believe is clear is that technology is not enough anymore. You need to have other skills. Maybe these huge companies like, I think this one is, okay, Amazon and Workday, they have a lot of money and they can have engineers doing only engineering stuff. But for most of the other companies, you need other skills if you want to get a successful IT career. In life, you can take easy choices, but you are going to probably have a hard life later. Or you can take those hard choices now and enjoy an easy life when you are a little older and when you don't have that much energy. So the best time to invest that energy that you have is now. How can you invest that energy? You can keep learning, very important. Probably most of you have finished university, but it doesn't mean that you have learned all that is there. Everything is advancing, so you need to keep learning every day. I didn't tell you about the picture before. Let me go back. That picture is in a mountain because I don't have other pictures in digital, but those pictures are in my mind. What do I mean about hard choices? I remember many nights working the whole night trying to fix a problem so it could be fixed in the morning for our clients to be happy. I remember taking airplanes at 6 a.m. in the morning to fly to my clients and ask them, not ask them, but apologize for our errors. We also made big errors and we apologized because we built relationships with our clients. And that takes effort and you need to keep learning because in order to serve your clients, you not only need to learn about technology, you also need to learn about their business. So some tips, you need to be relevant in your industry. This picture is from past Cloud Native Kuala Lumpur Meetup at Money Lion. And Carlos, he's giving a talk. You should do the same. There are many opportunities in Kuala Lumpur. Actually, there is actually a big opportunity because Kuala Lumpur is such a small ecosystem that many times we don't have people to talk. So if you have something to say, it's going to be very easy to find an event where you can do it. You need to keep learning. You can publish your source code in GitHub. You can help an open source project, OpenTofu, for example, the fork, Terraform fork. I ran the YouTube channel, for example, for OpenTofu, and I run many other things about OpenTofu as well. You can be part of that, and that is gonna give you. You are a product, you know. Engineers, we are a product, so we need to do marketing ourselves. We need to build our personal brand. That is one way to do it. You can find opportunities in your own company to give talks. You can ask your own company to give you the training, the necessary training to be able to do public speaking. And you can join all these events. Actually, you are already doing more than what other people does, because right now is what, 8 p.m. and you are here. So that you are making an effort that is gonna be above all your other the people in your company. You also need to market that. So for example, tomorrow you can write a post for your company. Maybe you have a tool inside your company, or you can actually use LinkedIn. Please open a LinkedIn profile. Keep it updated. Keep it professional. Share your own content. You can use artificial intelligence. I use it a lot because I need to fix my mistakes because English is not my main language. But I always make sure that it is my own content and it is my own voice with the errors that I make. It doesn't matter. I'm sharing insights. I'm not just sharing something that can be found in another place. And you also need to add value to your company, because in the companies, we love to have employees that add value, because that value is transferred to our clients. And if our clients are happy, they are gonna be paying us much more money. And we can use that money to pay better salaries, to fly you to events, things like that. So how can you show your value? Please search for something called T-shaped skills. Those are skills like empathy, something very important. You need to have empathy for your the people that work with you and the clients. You need to think about your users. You know, technology is not everything. Technology is just a tool. So you need to use that tool also to help your business be better, to help your business do more money. You need to be pragmatic about technology. Maybe there is a very good tool out there or a very good language, but do you believe that the resources of your company should be spent on switching everything to that language or to that tool? Maybe not, because you have other issues to fix. And when you are a manager, you want to be surrounded by employees that you can trust, employees that you know can take an airplane with you. They can go see a client. They can have a meeting with a client. Maybe you don't feel well that day. Okay, I want to have employees that can take that place, and I need to have that people, because in companies we sometimes have new projects and we need to find the heads for those projects. So you need to show your company that you are someone that can be trusted. Please, you need to be take consideration about the time management. So if you had committed to be in a meeting at certain time, do it. There is no need to send a message 2 hours before saying, hey, remember we have a meeting. It shouldn't happen. As long as you commit to go to a meeting, add it to your agenda. Those kind of things are gonna build trust in your company. And that way you are gonna be able to get promotions get better salary, and the company is going to do as much as possible to keep you happy and keep you at the company. So please market yourself, help the company, add value, and that value is gonna come back to you. The pictures that you see here, that is energy farm, wind farm. Our clients, most of our clients, well, not the most, but all of them are energy producers, renewable energy producers. So we had to learn, and all our engineers learn about energy because we were building applications for the energy sectors. So we had to learn as not just the technology to write the code, but the technology of these machines and many other energy systems. And those clients were extremely happy. And one day we got an offer from this company, Aseco. They are listed in NASDAQ and they acquired us. They wanted to have our technology, our people, and our clients. And we also gave, before that, many years before this acquisition happened, we gave stock options to the employees because we wanted to keep our employees and we wanted our employees to be owners. And it was a great idea and it was a success for us. I had an exit and I moved to Kuala Lumpur. I don't have too much time. Here are my contact details. Please feel free to send me a connection request on LinkedIn, and feel free to join my Telegram channel where I share all the technical events, or not all, but most of the technical events happening in Kuala Lumpur. And happy to answer any questions you have now or later. I don't know if we have more time for questions.
Thank you so much.
I don't think so, right?
Javier, thank you so much. I guess we can take the question later.
Okay.
Because now we're gonna have a very important session which is who's hiring. We're gonna start with Seek, and then anybody is hiring, he can talk as well. And please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lavanya. Ooh, light. I'm the engineering director here at SIG. So I think James earlier, my boss, and Lester has shared with you a bit of the open role. So I just want to reiterate again, we have roles from senior engineer, staff, and senior staff engineer roles opened. We have different types of focus areas, whether you want front end, Android, iOS, we are a native platform, Kubernetes, back end, all kind of different focus areas. So come and talk to me or a few speakers here. We can share more about the open roles. We also have engineering manager roles or business analyst role. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So anybody else is hiring? It's a good opportunity. Many people here.
Hello, hi, Michael Leong from Moneyline. We help rewire financial system in the US. Yeah, so we are all on full cloud native. Yeah, Kubernetes, Terraform, AWS. So our platform not so chunky like Seek, but yeah, we also do self-service a bit. So getting there. So yeah, if you're interested, all positions just come talk to me. My team handles the SRE. I'm looking for seniors, junior role, high. Close already, sorry. But yeah, we do take interns, so interns come talk to me as well.
So much. Moneyline are always hiring, so reach out to them. So anybody else? Anybody else? Cool. Thank you so much. So now we have a very interesting topic. Who know OpenTelemetry? OpenTelemetry, 1, 2, 3. Grafana. Oh, that's nice. A lot of people knows Grafana. So Alfredo, he came from overseas to introduce about the distribution that they had developed based on OpenTelemetry. And yeah, so welcome to Alfredo. Share your screen first. Yeah, one more thing, we have a lot of swags from this. So we still have 7. So you guys, if anybody ask any question, he will get one. But and also let's stay until the end. We will take a group photo. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, because I'm the last speaker. So my name is Alfredo. So I'm really speaking to you about the Grafana alloy. This is OpenTelemetry distributions. So I didn't really quite catch it just now. Anyone heard OpenTelemetry before? Yeah, here. This row is my crowd. Grafana. Sorry, what? It's not working. This thing is better. All right. Okay. Grafana, I think I saw a few just now. There's a lot. Yeah, everybody know Grafana. All right, cool. And who know alloy? There's a few. Yeah. All right. So today I'm going to talk a bit more about Grafana alloy. Just a bit more an introduction of what it is. The technology behind that was the why we started with the project itself, and then we also have some quick demo on the setup itself. So kind of like there's quite a bit more stuff we built around it. But before that, just a quick introductions. So I'm based in Singapore, but before Singapore, I've been living in KL for a good 5-6 years already. Then I'm originally from Indonesia. I'm born in Indonesia, still holding the passport there as well. I still occasionally come to Malaysia because about 2 years ago, my friends, I got kena poison to start scuba diving. So I come over to Malaysia over to kind of like see the stuff under the water. So 5-6 years here, but I didn't see the stuff under the water. So I might come back here to see stuff under the water. But yeah, other than that, I do things like road cycling as well in Singapore. Singapore is pretty small. And but yeah, you can find me in LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. Happy to chat with you further. So before we get started, a bit of a history before alloy. There is a term called Grafana agent. Anyone heard about that? Right. Right. So just a context here, Grafana agent is essentially one of our project. It's an open source project that focuses on collection of Prometheus metrics. Prometheus, another new term. Anybody heard Prometheus? Yeah, the same hand that raised Grafana, same one that operates Prometheus, right? One fun fact as well, Grafana, we turned 11, I think it should be this year, because we recently turned 10 last year, 2023. And of course, since then, we have become like the de facto visualizations tool for Prometheus metrics, but of course, there's a lot of other things that Grafana can do. But in short, Grafana agents is a drop-in replacement for Prometheus agent, a lightweight versions of that. So because Prometheus does two things in general, things like collecting the metrics and then storing that. But of course, Grafana, we do have our project around Prometheus backend. We call that Mimir. Back then, called Cortex, one of it. So Mimir is another one. But the idea from Grafana agents back then is to create this Prometheus agent scraping purposes, and then we add in Prometheus, which is an agent for our log project called Loki. So again, I think I'm the one that will ask you guys to raise a lot of, and I think it's a good one. Exercise a bit after all the pizza. Anyone heard Grafana Loki, not the Marvel one? Yeah, okay, I see a bit more people here, okay? So yeah, Prometheus is the agent to collect the log for Loki, and then we add traces afterward as well with OpenTelemetry, Zipkins, and all those kind of stuff, right? Back then, it's become this hundreds, thousands over deployment of Grafana agents. But of course, not everything is shiny, and there's some drawback in some of that, because it looks like a sum up of 3 different stuff together. And then it use YAML. I have a love and hate relationship with YAML. it's fine if it's just a single page, a couple of lines. It get crazy when it become a lot more, and then there's a bunch of hierarchy, just one single space screw up every single things. So there's another one, and then of course the configurations are different between like how the OpenTelemetry stuff and then the Prometheus, that completely work differently. All right. So we thought of like, okay, this naturally comes Alloy, right? Nice logo. I honestly like it, and then even in our Slack internally, we have the one that animated, and the animated is Alloy_roll. So we keep on rolling, infinite roll. The idea with Alloy is simple. It's a universal tools to use for collecting, transforming, routing, and ship your telemetry data. So this telemetry data will be things, metrics, logs, traces, profiles included as well. And it's a first-class support with OpenTelemetry protocols as well. So OpenTelemetry protocols has all the signals included there as well, all right? So that's pretty much that. On top of that, we also use the native pipeline for Prometheus, Prometheus, and then we have Gyroscope for the profiling that pretty much supply directly to there. So everything you do with OpenTelemetry Collector, plus all the native framework that you use to script your agents, your metrics endpoint with Prometheus, you can work it together with Alloy, and of course Alloy support Kubernetes as well. Now on top of that, we had a couple of supporting components as well. So these are more of your common infrastructure metrics that you want to collect. Say like you're running MySQL, so you want to collect the MySQL metrics instead of installing a separate exporter. Alloy can do that for you automatically as well, right? So we have that, and then all, of course, the three big provider, AWS, Azure, are included there as well in terms of the metrics collections. So for now, I will be speaking about these four main topics. So the basics of Alloy, talk about how the deployment it is, Kubernetes, and we talk about the OpenTelemetry, how that tied together, and then a bit of an advanced topic as well. So to get started, Alloy, just now we talk about YAML, right? YAML is good in the sense of it's easy to understand, but of course, I personally have a different look at it. And the other thing as well, language can become a bit of a complex thing because idea with Alloy, we want to have this capability to stitch things together. And YAML doesn't really provide us that capability. So Alloy comes with its own syntax. We call it just Alloy syntax. And the syntax is very simple. When I look at this, I immediately somehow understand that, because I think everybody here, as you are dealing with a bunch of programming language, it just naturally work with you. So it's pretty much a declarative syntax. So you have your attributes, a simple key value pair, and then you can add an expressions to that. You can do a block as well. Now, all this becomes a components, all right? So when I look at this, I look at it similar like declaring a functions in that sense. So here in these examples, I have two components. I have the first one that handle the credentials from my secrets. And then the second one will take up the output of that to be used as a auto collector authentication pair. So each component will have the arguments, the content inside itself. And then it will also have the export options that another component can work from, all right? Simple, right? From here, it's kind of like looking at this very declarative, how you can stitch this together. And that's one of the power with Alloy and how it actually bring together some of the other visions that we have when we get started with the project. So as I mentioned just now, you can pretty much create this programmable pipeline architecture. So in this case, I have two discovery services, and then which then will be script with my Prometheus script components before it get remote write to my endpoints for my metrics, right? Simple as that. So I'll just show you a quick video here, just kind of an example. So one nice thing as well with Alloy, we provide a debug UI for you and also give you a capability to understand each of the components' health. I'll just run that. Make sure it works. All right. So the components here essentially list down all the components that you have. So I have a couple of things like the remote write, I have the discovery and many other things. It gives you the status, is it healthy or not healthy? And then for one, we see here our secret credentials is not healthy. The other thing also, Alloy provide a graph. So it's help you to visualize the connections of how each of your components are interconnected to each other. You can, of course, from here interact to each of them. if you click down into that specific components, it will bring you into a very detailed view of that particular components that it will do. That the video should click anytime soon, but if it's not, okay, just about to skip it. But either way, each of the component will have all the detail. I just want to talk about the arguments, the exports, and many other things. You can quickly see each of the components over there as well. So kind of like going back to the graph here, if you were to see, okay, what's going on with these unhealthy components, clicking inside there, it gives information that, all right, some polling issue because this secrets is not recognized. This arguments essentially is not recognized there. It just looks like it should be an S instead of a Z. Just small typo over there as well. All right. So that's just a quick look of what you can do, stitching together all the components, the debug UI that helps you to understand each of the working component there as well. All right. Now, when you are deploying Alloy, we provide a couple pretty much, we think about the support to the Kubernetes. So we provide a Helm chart to deploy this, all the necessary things that you need to deploy it, how you want to break it out into multiple things. And again, Alloy is very component based, which means that you can have multiple Alloy to communicate together as well, how you want to define that. And of course, we support the annotations base for the discovery as well. So these are just a couple of other Alloy components that I believe is still in the preview. Some of things about working with the kubelet components. We have like the Kubernetes log. So this kind of like interesting one, because typically when we want to collect a Kubernetes logs, we need to run our collector as a daemon set that will be attached to the node volume to pull it out. Another thing how you can actually collect this is through the API, Kubernetes API as well. Of course, there's pros and cons for each of them, but it's another workaround because I know that some company policy doesn't allow daemon set for once, right? I know it's a few, if you are not, then good for you, but the assumption is there, right? Now, speaking about OpenTelemetry, we talked about just now, Alloy essentially is the OpenTelemetry collector distributions of Grafana itself. You can think about that at OpenTelemetry and Grafana combined together, and then it comes out with Alloy. Now, Grafana itself as a whole, we have many other projects. Just now, I just barely mentioned a few. I start off mention of things like Loki, right? And then we have Mimir, and then we have Pyroscope just now, and then we have Tempo for the traces. And then we have this B, it's called Bela. That's the eBPF project that we have. And then, of course, we have additional new family in the house called Alloy. I put it here because it's easier. And of course, everybody know what is this. But if you want to get the stickers, I see still a lot there. Actually, I missed one here, which is the K6 one. This is my bad, my fault. But essentially, all of these components with Grafana, it work natively with OpenTelemetry. For instance, when you talk about OpenTelemetry and Grafana, one thing that comes to my mind is Tempo for the traces. OpenTelemetry started off with distributed traces. That's the most mature signals that they have. Of course, now there's many other with metrics and the logs. Tempo as a backend storage for the traces support OpenTelemetry natively, of course, apart from other like Zipkins there. And then for our other database system like the logs and the metrics, also natively support OpenTelemetry protocol. And with Grafana, Cloud itself also provide this OpenTelemetry protocol gateway as one of the options there. Another one like with Bela for the eBPF, it's natively expose the OTLP signals, the OpenTelemetry protocols, for you to collect all the data as well. All right, so OpenTelemetry, probably just for the benefit of everyone here, because I see quite a few people heard about OpenTelemetry, but majority is still new. Essentially, it's a project that started, I think now since, it's been like 5 years, good 5 years. I think it was started in KubeCon 2019, if I'm mistaken. I might be wrong, the exact 19, I think it's 19, right? Correct? All right. So it's an initiative to bring together and standardize of a certain framework in the applications monitoring as well. So it consists a lot of things in general. It has, of course, the framework itself, the languages that support to emit the signals, and then of course there's the protocol itself, which we call as OpenTelemetry protocols, the metrics, the logs, the traces. But the idea is how can we able to observe our applications without any tied down to any specific vendors, because it used to be vendor A has its own things, vendor B has its own thing, and so on. OpenTelemetry helped create these standardizations, create this framework where everybody can observe the applications. You can start with instrumenting your applications today, set up Grafana LGTM, say the open source versions, you can have that, and then you can start to observe your application, what's going on there as well, right? So that's the idea with OpenTelemetry, and now it's been picking up heavily. And just back to Alloy here, Alloy pretty much support this natively with all the OpenTelemetry protocols. It pretty much OpenTelemetry collector distributions, and it also supports some signal conversions. So if you want to convert, like say, incoming Prometheus metrics into then OpenTelemetry protocol outputs, you can do that as well. And this also will sync regularly with the upstream OpenTelemetry collector. And of course, with this, you will able to take advantage of the Alloy runtime configurations when you build a hybrid pipelines. So things like just now the configurations components that we have. All right, so I'm just gonna show you one quick examples I have here. So I have my environment set up, and then I have my, so this is kind of like one possibility how it could looks like. This is my Alloy. So just currently in my this is the default endpoint, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I go to the graph, it's a big one. The reason is what I have is I deployed my applications. It's an OpenTelemetry demo architecture. So it comes with all the web front end, all the microservices, checkout, and many other things. This Alloy is responsible to collect all the Kubernetes metrics, the kube state metrics, the cat advisors, the node exporters, all these kind of things, anything I need to know about whether my Kubernetes is on fire or not. And then the second thing is it also collects the traces metrics from my instrumented applications. So the full thing, that's why when you look at this, there's quite a fair bit of things you will see. Things like the discovery, and then it will also do the relabels going on inside that. Before then, it get right up into my backend, which I choose Grafana Cloud. So Grafana Cloud essentially is just it's a hosted versions of Grafana. You can get started with that. We have this like free tier. It's like forever free, right, with a limited usage. But you can, if your data is not huge, you can just get started with that. And just to look into here, this is one of Grafana application observability. Essentially, I have all my applications distributed here. So it's kind of each of the component, add services, what is going on for each of that is deployed in which namespace. I can look at my service map, which essentially, we're looking at the service graph view of that. I can see the add service is going on. So it looks like I have all the data, just kind of like this confirm, making sure everything is working fine. I have my service overview here. I have my distributed traces that OpenTelemetry has instrumented for me for each of them. So I can have all of that. Let's see, do I have the logs? So let's see if I open here, do I have the logs down here? Yeah, I have the log as well. So it's kind of all the logs informations there. Because OpenTelemetry also support metrics, not just trace and logs. It also gives me my runtime information. So I can just quickly see my JVM. Another thing as well, just now, the same Alloy is used to collect the Kubernetes components. So I can look my Kubernetes view. So this is another view that's available in the Grafana Cloud. Again, this is available in Grafana Cloud, but if you do it yourself with your own LGTM, you pretty much will deploy your own mixins and then set up the dashboard and so on there. And then I have like this pod view for me, some other, if I look at my namespace, it looks like I can see all the stuff there as well. All right. So you can get started very quickly here with Alloy Helm chart. So if I look at the Helm charts here, so this one way you can get started. If you want to go the vanilla way of doing things, you can go through here to install your chart. Another thing is, let's say that for my case, I actually deploy it using a bit more customized chart that is available as part of the Grafana Cloud experience. So if I go to my configurations here, I go to my cluster configurations. This will give me another chart that I will use. So the difference is the vanilla Alloy chart will give you capability to deploy just Alloy. But the other one with Kubernetes monitoring essentially allow you to deploy some other components, things like the kube state metrics, node exporter, CS visor, some of those kind of things as well. But of course, alloy included as part of it. Just another upstream chart that that particular chart have. So, I mean, Kubernetes monitoring chart has an upstream of alloy chart. Just realized I just talked about chart of that chart. All right. So that's just a quick look of that. And we'll touch a bit on a couple of things beyond this. So one thing is alloy support clustering, like the name mentions, essentially allow you to do distributions and high availability as well. So it's allow you to dynamically scale your collections points. And this pretty much use a gossip-based consistency. It also support like hashing algorithm, and this ownership will also can be calculated if there's something changes there. So this essentially available for the pool-based workloads. So things like Prometheus scrape, when you are scraping the Prometheus metrics, and then Pyroscope is there as well. Some of the things with the logs support that. So it's natively been supported. The other thing I want to share as well is about alloy modules. So one way when I look with alloy, you can think about that is that all the components in a way, it's kind of like a Lego block, right? Something that you go Lego, then you got a bunch of blocks, and then you pick up it and then build up. Now modules is more like a blueprint of that Lego. So by that definition, you can modules essentially is multiple components built together to do one job. So for examples here, it allows a couple of things, by the way, before I go there. So a couple of things. You can have as a central SRE or platform engineering, you might create one specific module to say, collect all the Kubernetes telemetry, right? And then you roll this out, store in the GitHub, and then for all individual team will then import that and then just call on all the necessary from that module that you have created. So it's allow you to share this functionality as a custom components. And I mentioned just now, you pretty much can get this from Git. You can also, we also actually open source this module library. So if you go to the Alloy modules repository, we have some of the other examples there, all right? The other thing as well, the configuration changes are applied automatically. So there's a poll frequency that you can set up when you are configuring the import there. So just an examples here before let us show you another one with the modules repo. So here I have my Alloy configurations. So at the top, is the video running? All right. So at the top, I have the import gits. So this is where I store my modules that I've created. And then you see there's a pull frequency there. That's kind of like how frequent Alloy will need to pull a new one. And then I have many other things at the bottom to say is that I can call the components there, which is like the logs filter. So currently I have my import git and I named it as declared as a logs. And then at the bottom I have logs filter. The filter is just another components within the modules, kind of like function of that functions. And then I will just do the filter and then the output will be sent to the Loki write, which will then send it to my Loki backend and so on. So that's pretty much what this particular config will do. Let's look at the modules itself. So this is the modules that I have. So I have the top there, declare the filter. And then the key things here you want to see is this part. So essentially, these are all the filtrations logic that I set up. I have things like I want to get rid all the debug log. So that's the first one that you will see at the top. I have it here. Yeah, so you will see this one is essentially get rid of all the debug log. And then at the bottom here, it kind of like apply some static labels. So kind of like if you look at the logs here, I have some of the info log available, and then I have all the labels that I've set up with Loki, right? So essentially, by the way, just a quick context with Loki, we work by tagging each individual log line with labels, and all the unique labels together will become one group, or we call it as a log stream. So we don't do index of the full context of the log line. So Loki is a lot more lower in terms of like processing need at the early time. And at the search time, we're able to do a couple of parsing to get back all the context from the log line there as well. So another examples here, let's say that I want to add additional labels. So currently I have my label just now with just the app, but then now I'm adding another one to just, okay, add the host name as another labels. And then I pushed it back to my Git. And the next thing when I kind of like look back into my logs, this will show me whether it's a success or not in terms of the changes. Looks like it is. So I have the host name. Of course, I know it's a success. I recorded it. I have the host name there that just added. So there's a nice thing with modules. I mentioned this one applications of that. You might set up a filter, and then this is something that, especially if you are running like more like a central platform team, is something that you define, and then you give it to the other team that they can just pull back and then do the necessary. The other thing as well, so log filter is one common thing. One of the other thing about log, while we are still on the log, is the topic of masking. So in the Alloy modules repo over here, so if you go to the, where is that? All right, so it's actually under the Alloy modules. Let's go to, right, it's actually on the Grafana/Alloy modules repository. There's a couple of examples of that. One of that is logs, and one of modules is doing a masking. So these are the same thing about the declaration just now, a couple of things here that you can do to do your log masking. So this is something is useful for, let's say when you want to send your logs somewhere, you want to do filtering is one. Of course, another one is masking any of the PII data, let's say email address, IP address itself, and credit card, and some others there. So some of the modules are available there. And this is an open source repository as well as available to public. And the reason why we put it up there as well, so people can build on this, share your modules that you have, get other people benefit out of that as well. Beauty of open source. All right. Is it working? All right. All right. So another thing as well, just kind of like a sneak peek on some other things that the Alloy team is working on as well. We're working on something called a fleet management for our Grafana Cloud. Essentially, it's a remote pipeline centralized debugging options, which is based on the module. So it's an extensions of the modules itself. So this is something that Alloy team is working towards now, actually. All right, that's all that I have actually. Am I on time? Slightly over. But yeah, questions. And while we are here, if you could help and give us a feedback. So it's kind of like something that we typically will do in any of a Grafana meetup. So this is a Grafana and Friends Kuala Lumpur first meetup in partnership with CNCF. Yeah.
Cool. So we have one question here.
Yep.
Hi. So yeah, I had experience collecting logs using OpenTelemetry collector before, and then at least in my testing, somehow the logs is not shown after sent to Loki. It's still shown as JSON instead of the proper passing the message field. So and in the end, I up to you end up using Prometheus instead. So my question is, because Alloy also combines OpenTelemetry, is it actually using OpenTelemetry collector logs, you call it exporter or something? Or is
Loki
it using
exporter,
Prometheus? Yeah.
So you can think of it that it's both, because the thing why you will see that the logs is in JSON is just the way how the hotel collector process the log. And typically you would want to apply appropriate kind of like labels in the beginning. That's what you do with Prometheus, right? So with Alloy, essentially you can do that because the Prometheus pipeline is there, and then you want to export that as OpenTelemetry protocol format. In terms, OTLP is the format. Of course, we have the Loki format as well as another options. You can do that as well. It will. So the stage that you apply in your Prometheus, the same stage is available in Alloy. Exactly the same one.
It's the interesting point here is the Prometheus also you configure the attribute, but it's out of the box inside the helmet chart. So you got that, right?
Yeah.
Also, Aloya and OpenTelemetry collector, you have the Kubernetes attribute that you can add them, which will be ingested to Grafana with that attribute, so you can filter. Aloya and OpenTelemetry collector, they are exactly the same in that point, but it depends on how you instrument that to this collector from the application itself. Interesting.
Yeah.
You want to add anything else?
No, so that's pretty much sum up nicely. Probably one thing I want to add is with Prometheus, of course, the expectation is the incoming logs is in locky format in a way, right? And then the export will be locky as well. With OpenTelemetry protocol, pretty much it will be in OTLP stuff. With Alloy, you can choose what you want. So that's also the nice thing. With another questions, someone?
Hi. So you said that PAE data can be masked. Does the tool automatically identifies the PAE data, or we need to explicitly tag the PAE data?
So the modules that I showed you just now helps to quickly kind of like get you started with some of, because it's recognized some of like the credit card format. There's like a regular, it's regular expressions that you have there, and then some of the emails format, IPv4, and some of the other things. So that's like something that you get started instead of you build from scratch. And then if you have something specific that you have, let's say like your log has the other context of like username you want to mask as well, but username is something that's specific that you have within your applications. And then you can also just create your own there to extend from what the modules already provide. And then, of course, with modules, and then you add that into a modules, then the rest of your team users able to just tap on it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more question.
All right.
I have seen that you are taking the username and password from the environment variable. Are you supporting any other kind of authentication? Like, can we extract secrets from HashiCorp Vault natively, or?
So you can so I know that you can do that with a Kubernetes secret handling. HashiCorp, I might need to confirm. I'm off the top of my head, I can't recall and able to give you the confirmations now.
Okay, but any other way where we can securely vault our password? Because I came from a financial institution where we are not allowed to store the passwords in as environment variable.
Okay, so I think many of the customer I work with, the users, they pretty much rely on the way the Kubernetes level secret management. That's how they get started with that. Usually they already deploy Kubernetes, and that's how the other resources typically will use as well. That is probably something, I don't know the exact, I know when we talk financials appear in whatever industry we work on, there's many other policy that you never think about and suddenly appear. But yeah, good questions. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
Nothing, thanks.
I believe you get one or two.
To get to become one question is not answered. But it's okay.
Hi. So this I heard of Grafana before lah, but never used it before. Any resources would you recommend for people like us to start learning about Grafana?
Right. It's a very good questions, and I typically would want to understand more what you are looking at, so I can give you a bit more tailored answer. But I will probably get started with this. So Grafana by itself is starting as a visualizations tools. It become the de facto with Prometheus and the world Kubernetes when everything is become a thing. Outside there, from the visualization layer, you can think of that it's a front end that you can plug with any of your data source. So if you have data source, let's say CloudWatch, you want to query CloudWatch and visualize the data together with your Prometheus, you can do that with Grafana. CloudWatch is just one example. Azure Monitor is another one. And then a few other options that we have. This is a form of plugin, right? So think of plugin as every data store will have a query API that it provides that anybody can just query that. Plugin essentially is similar with that. It's a wrapper around that to help you visualize some of the data. So that's problem number one that Grafana helps to solve, which is commonly known to till date as the visualizations tools. Other than that, just now I show you like even Alloy as part of it. It's kind of like in the area of the observability monitoring, or whatever you want to call it. The terminology change every single times. But that's the space we are in. For some of the project like metric store, we provide a project to store your metrics, your logs, your traces, and we usually call that as an LGTM as a full stack. Each of them actually have the resources available for you as well that you can get started. But one of the simplest one, if you want to just quickly get started to play around, is sign up with like Grafana Cloud. It gives you some trial and then the rest is just to become a free after that, which give you good enough of a limit to start how much metrics you want to ingest, your logs, and so on. And that allow you to focus purely on instrumenting your application, for instance, sending that, and then see what it has from there as well. Another resource I think I want to share with you is our YouTube channel. There's a lot of video these days. If you haven't looked at our YouTube, this is all not me, it's all the DevRel team. They put up a bunch of introductory video, a short one that tells you, all right, for logs, what are a couple of things you can work with that. Even as simple as visualization that people know is simple, but there's a bunch of visualization options, panels, flame graph, histograms, with some people kind of sometimes having a trouble to understand what it is used for, what kind of design you can create with that. It gives you some of the more level set informations as well. Long answer, but hopefully that helps. So it's just Grafana. I think it's the channel name is just Grafana, I believe. Yeah. No. So Grafana Alloy is one of our project. Grafana is another project of, yeah. So I work for, I'm in professional life, I'm working for Grafana Labs, which is the company behind Grafana and many other things now. Correct. Today I'm introducing Alloy and Shameless Plug and many other projects as well. Correct. It is available now. Yep, it is available now. Yep, it's a collector's. Good questions. Good questions for that.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
What is the state of OpenTelemetry and with logs? Because I remember like a few years ago, I tried it. I tried to, try to implement logging, collecting logs and stuff, right? I have to use some other open source tools. I think I use Fluentd to make my whole pipeline. I remember having issue with OpenTelemetry supported natively, stuff like that. So what is the state right now? I'm just curious. Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned Fluentd just now. So I'm assuming you are thinking about the collection pipeline specifically, not the instrumentations. Right.
He's talking about an instrumentation.
Talking about Fluentd just now, which is the pipeline. All right, good. So I'll answer both in a sense. So I like to think about OpenTelemetry as the instrumentations piece. It's something that you do to your applications level to emit the telemetry signals, metrics, logs, traces, and those kind of things. And to answer on this specific area for you, you say you tried it a couple of years back. My recommendation is try it again now because things change a lot. Depending on your framework, a lot of project has become stable now. And even recently, last month or so, OpenTelemetry announced the next support for profiling as well, which is currently in work. Currently profiling project in open source is Pyroscope, available there, but Pyroscope natively is really the one who work on the OpenTelemetry profiling interest group. Is actually Pyroscope team as well is there. So I'll say that's probably number one. So a lot more mature depending on your framework. The second one as well on your Fluentd, because Fluentd also talk about the collections before sending it to somewhere to store. OpenTelemetry collector, of course, will follow through with that. And Fluentd is one of the options to do the collections and then sending it. Autocollector is another thing. I think autocollector now also support like low-key export if you go with that. And of course, we have things like Alloy as another options as well. So that's answer for you.
There is a status page for that. All the languages programming language is listed there with the current like the version of logs, traces, metrics, and the OpenTelemetry is actually they develop a lot, and every day they change something. So highly recommend to look into their website.
Yeah.
No, you can use all the backend facility platform that's out there today support OpenTelemetry exporter. No. No, Prometheus. Can I answer?
Yeah. You want to use the mic?
Okay, so first of all, you instrument your application. Prometheus is for metrics, right? Metrics from your application, from the infrastructure, from everyone. Prometheus itself can scrap this matrix using different exporters, right? OpenTelemetry is the one that can instrument the application matrix, send it to the collector, or send it to the backend directly. The backend might be Prometheus, might be Mimer, might be any other tool, which all support the OpenTelemetry format. Correct. So they do have the capability to scrap the matrix from the infrastructure and also accept the matrix from OpenTelemetry instrumentation. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I typically group this into 3 points when we talk about observability. Again, there's of course we talk about monitoring and everything, but again, the idea of observability is the goal. You want to make sure that when you build your applications, do you understand what's going on inside that code that you just run, right? Making it more observable. Typically, there will be 3 buckets starting from your own code here. You have the instrumentation piece because by default, your code will not emit the signals, the metrics, the log, the traces, the profile. That's what it means by instrumentations. Once you emit it, it will go to the collections level. I'll let you answer that. The collections level, which essentially collect that, it will do the transforming, the routing before it gets shipped to the last one here where it will be stored. That which user will then query. That's typically how I will simply put all the 3 buckets.
Yeah, actually, just say like, because we are using this Grafana, and usually this is for our like system resource utilization. We are just tracking like application resource utilization, all these things. So we are just using like Telegraph as agent. So how we can use this LOA over the Telegraph, like
so
to collecting the system data, or like all the like CPU or RAM resource, any kind of resource utilizations in the system side, how you can use this alloy.
Okay, so you use Telegraph today, and where are you storing it? In Flux?
We are like Telegraph is agent, and it is transferring the data and displaying in the Grafana using some like Influx DB.
Influx, right?
Yeah.
For your storage. Okay. So Influx is another system on how you deal with metrics. It is technically not Prometheus format because it has its own. What in the terms of Alloy will be able to do 2 things for you. The first one is emitting the Prometheus signals of your systems, Linux, Windows, all those kind of things, which is like in the world of Prometheus called as exporter. Yeah, that's that. The second one, the same Alloy will be able to scrape the information and write that into the backend store. Now, the backend store is will be something like Prometheus, for instance. Before then, it get write up into, before it get read from Grafana. Does it make sense?
So is this alloy basically working with the Prometheus only, or?
No. The talk title talk about OpenTelemetry first.
Okay.
Think about that as it's a OpenTelemetry collector distributions that support the native support for Prometheus pipeline and many other things, including like Prometheus for Loki, Pyroscope included as well. So it's a unified tools to do this.
Okay.
Think about it about
Yeah.
agent.
Okay.
The agent that everybody send to it, do some transformation and then send it to the backend. But it has also some capabilities to scrap some matrix out of it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So is the alloy open source?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It is open source, and some of the other logo, the colorful one, those are open source as well.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess that's all. Any other question you can ask offline? The good thing about Grafana is actually it's forked from Kibana. Anybody knows Kibana here? Yeah, so this project is forked from Kibana long time ago because Kibana didn't want to add any backend except Elasticsearch. So they Grafana, they put it there and they accept all the backend to visualize the thing. Any product in Grafana is actually open source it. So yeah, we are leading the open source projects,
Thank you.
observability open source project. Thank you so much,
right.
Alfredo. Please. You turned on? Cool. So we have some good news or bad news. Bad news that my screen is not sure. The good news is I will wait it. What happened? Let me reshare it again. Something happened. Let me share the whole desktop. Okay, 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 okay. Cool. So, yay. Who knows what is the Cloud Foundation exams out there? CKA, what else? Yeah, this is like discounts for all the exams out there. So you can use this one. It will end tomorrow. So you can register today. Yeah, end of May. End of May is tomorrow. Or you can use this one is it will be valid until end of this year. Cool. So what else? So yeah, we actually organize this meetup every month. So we are looking for speakers. Anybody is like passionate about open source CNCF, he can present himself. We can help him with some topic. We can also guide him how to do that. So you can just reach out to us for the next meetup. We also looking for a sponsor for the meetup who can sponsor the venue, place, as well as food if possible. If not possible, the place is enough. We will handle the food. So scan this barcode. Scan? No one? No one interested? Cool. So from Grafana side, this one has been shared by Alfredo. You can also scan this, be part of Grafana meetups, Grafana and friends in KL. This one mainly will be with us, but you can also reach out to them. Yeah, thank you so much. Now we will take a group photo. Can you scan? Scan? Scan. Can you guys come here? We'll take group photo. Can you come in front, all here? Come. You can switch that off. Go. Group photo, guys. Group photo. Group photo. Ah, where do we close it? We need to close the how? Maybe use your mic to push. What? Oh no, it's behind you. It's okay. It's okay. I'll help. Join us. Group photo. All right. All right. Go. Who will take the photo? Group photo, join. You guys want to join us? Group photo? I will take the selfie. Guys, you want to join us? Come, join. Join.